Good morning, Mr. President, members of the Commission. My name is Peter Elder. I'm the Director General, Directorate of Nuclear Cycle and Facilities Regulation. With me doing the presentations today are Mr. Jean Leclerc, Director of the Uranium Mines and Mills Division, and Mr. Michael Rinker, Director of the Nuclear Processing Facilities Division. We also have staff available involved in this report here in Toronto, as well as via teleconference from our CNSC offices in Ottawa and in Saskatoon. So we're here to present this report on the CNSC staff report on the performance of Canadian uranium fuel cycle and processing facilities in 2012. As has been mentioned, the report covers 4 parts. It provides details on the compliance performance of the operating facilities across these 4 areas. They include uranium mines and mills, uranium processing facilities, which includes uranium mining, refining, conversion, and fuel fabrication, processing facilities for tritium, and finally Nordion's medical isotope production facility. We note that while the performance data presented in the report is to the end of 2012, the report also provides any major developments or events that happened at any of these facilities over the past year, so up until the point where the report was issued. CNSC staff have committed to a continuous improvement of this report. This year we have added a brief overview of the radiation protection principles at the beginning of the report to provide some context on how we look at radiation protection across this industry. As we did last year, the report provides overall ratings for the CNSC's safety and control areas for each sector. The report also includes performance data in the areas of radiation protection, environmental protection, and workplace health and safety. This includes a comparison of the environmental performance of uranium mines and mills to that of other metal mines. As part of the improvements, we have added a comparison of the safety performance in the area of lost time frequencies and severities for the mining sector in Saskatchewan. And as directed by the Commission for last year's report, a further improvement has been to add appendices that include production data and the financial guarantees for each facility. So one of the report, as I mentioned, highlights any of the major events that have happened in these areas, and we have also provided 5-year trending data on our 3 areas of radiation protection, environmental protection, and conventional health and safety. I would note that the report is not supposed to be a comprehensive review of all the data that is collected by the licensees in these areas. All that data, there are links in the report to the licensee's website where that more detailed data is available. We also highlight any areas of increased regulatory focus that we've taken in the past year and identify any changes to the license or the license condition handbooks associated with these facilities. This report will continue to evolve based on the recent feedback from the mine relicensing hearings in October and other feedback both internally and externally before the next report is issued. As we have done since March 2011, we are providing a quick overview of the work undertaken by the CNSC following the Fukushima nuclear accident. In March of 2011, a CNSC directive was issued requiring all major licensees in Canada to review the initial lessons learned from the accident in Japan and to re-examine the safety cases of their facilities in the light of this information. All Class 1 facility licensees were required to review their safety cases and report on implementation plans for short-term and long-term measures to address any identified gaps. As well, there was an internal group, the CNSC Fukushima Task Force, and an external advisory committee that reviewed the response to this Fukushima and made recommendations on potential improvements stemming from the lessons learned. All these, as appropriate, some of these recommendations were then turned into requests to industry to improve certain aspects of their operation. These reviews and recommendations have been consolidated into a single integrated action plan that applies to all operating nuclear facilities It consists of 5 categories: strengthening defense in depth, enhancing emergency response, improving the regulatory framework and processes, enhancing international collaboration, enhancing communication and public education. In August of 2013, CNSC staff provided an update on the implementation of this action plan. At that time, we noted that all actions were either close or on target for the facilities covered by this report. Some specific examples would be every facility reviewed their emergency response plans and made sure that there are appropriate arrangements with the local authorities. This resulted in some changes to procedures. For example, with GE Hitachi, they changed the frequency of their training with the Toronto Fire Department to an annual basis. So I would now like to pass the presentation to Mr. Jean Leclerc and to proceed with part 1 of this report.
Bonjour, Monsieur le Président et membres de la Commission. Mon nom est Jean Leclerc. Je suis le directeur de la division des mines et usines de concentration d'uranium. I'll be presenting part 1 of the 2012 report, which is focused on operating uranium mines and mills. There are currently 5 operating uranium mines and mill facilities in Canada. The facilities are all located in northern Saskatchewan and is what's commonly known as the Athabasca Basin. Chemical Corporation operates the 4 facilities of Cigar Lake, McArthur River, Rabbit Lake, and Key Lake, while Areva Resources Canada Incorporated operates McLean Lake. Over the last year or so, the CNSC has been very busy as we've proceeded with the review of applications and hearings for license amendments or renewals for each of the uranium mine and mill facilities. We began last year with a license amendment for the McLean Lake Mill that would authorize for the processing of high-grade uranium ore from the McArthur River mine. At this time, we introduced the first Reform License and License Conditions Handbook for uranium mines and mills. Since then, all the licenses for operating uranium mine and mill facilities have been reformed and now include a License Conditions Handbook. Following last fall's hearing, a license renewal hearing held in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan in April 2013 for a license to operate the Cigar Lake uranium mine. This time the license was renewed for an 8-year period. More recently, in October of this year, license renewal hearings were held in Laonge, Saskatchewan for the continued operation of the Rabbit Lake, Key Lake, and McArthur River uranium mine and mill facilities. The licenses have been renewed for a 10-year period. As such, this year's annual report contains much of the information that has already been the subject of detailed hearings and discussions. As a quick status update, the Rabbit Lake, McArthur River, and Key Lake operations continue to operate. The startup of uranium mining operations at Cigar Lake and the startup of uranium milling operations at the McLean Lake have been delayed as each facility continues to complete the commissioning of its operating circuits. Startup of operations at each facilities are now scheduled for early to mid-2014. As was previously communicated to the Commission, the rating for all 14 safety control areas for the facilities remains satisfactory, with Cigar Lake having fully satisfactory in the area of conventional safety. At this time, I also would like to report a recent incident at the Key Lake Mill. As a result of operational difficulties at the reverse osmosis plant, there was a short-term release of treated water with a pH greater than 9.5, which is an exceedance of a limit. Approximately 200 cubic meters was released to Horsefly Lake over a period of approximately 1 hour. I should mention this incident occurred on December 2nd, 2013. The release of treated water was terminated and the plant was shut down. Samples were collected for further analysis. Downstream receiving environment monitored for pH, with results indicating minimal impact as the pH was found to be within acceptable ranges. Chemical is currently conducting a more detailed investigation, and a CNSC inspector will be going up to the mine site next week to conduct an independent verification of the event and the actions taken by Chemical. The following graph shows the maximum annual effective radiation doses for the uranium mine and mill workers from 2008 to 2012, as indicated by the red line and the results for each site. While the average doses range between 1 and 2 millisieverts per year, even the maximum effective radiation dose to workers over the last 5 years have remained well below the annual regulatory limit of 50 millisieverts per year. As part of routine and focused compliance inspections, CNSC staff verified and confirmed that licensees have effective radiation protection programs to monitor and control radiation exposures. Consistent with the principle of as low as reasonably achievable, CNSC staff continue to verify and licensees continue to work at reducing worker exposures. This slide provides the lost time incident statistics collected by Saskatchewan Labour Relations and Workplace Safety for the mining industry in Saskatchewan. We've included the statistics across different mining sectors in comparison with uranium mines and mills, and provide some specific data for 3 of the mines, the Rabbit, Key Lake, and MacArthur, where we have the largest number of employees in the currently operating mine. When reviewing this data, it is important to consider the level of industrial activity and the relative hazards associated with each mining sector. Conventional safety hazards in potash mining and hard rock mining, such as gold mining, are most similar with uranium mining and milling. It is also worth noting that significant construction activities, including equipment refurbishments, facility improvements, and reclamation activities have occurred at each of the uranium mines and mills. Despite significant increases in personnel and industrial activity at several of the sites, CNSC staff noted that the frequency and severity of lost time incidents remain well below the industry average in Saskatchewan. CNSC staff and mines inspectors from Saskatchewan Labour Relations and Workplace Safety have confirmed through inspections and report reviews that uranium mine and mill licensees are providing effective oversight of health and safety at their facilities. In 2008, as part of license renewal hearings for each uranium mines and mills, the CNSC directed licensees to implement improvements to their water management and water treatment systems to reduce the concentration of molybdenum, selenium, and uranium in treated effluent. Licensees submitted detailed plans and implemented various improvements at each of the facilities to further reduce contaminant concentration for those elements of greatest concern for each site. CNSC staff note that significant reductions have been achieved for given elements at each of the sites and are satisfied that each of the uranium mine and mill facilities has undertaken the necessary actions to reduce these concentrations and keep them as low as reasonably achievable. As we did last year, this year's report includes a table that compares the level of compliance with the metal mine effluent regulations across the different mining sectors in Canada based on the most current information in Environment Canada's published annual reports. The table in this slide presents the information updated to include 2011 performance data. CNSC staff calculated the percentage compliance as shown on this slide. The mines from across Canada reporting under the metal mine effluent regulations have been grouped into 4 metal mining sectors. The number of mines and mills representing each sector varies. There are 5 uranium mines and mills, 43 base metal mines, 50 precious metal mines, and 7 iron mines. The table provides a percentage of mines and mills in each sector that were in compliance for each year. For a mine to be in compliance, their effluent must have met all of the regulatory effluent release limits of the metal mine effluent regulations for the entire year. For a sector to achieve 100% compliance rating, all the facilities in that sector must have met all the parameter limits as shown on the previous slide for all submitted samples for that entire year. For example, if a sector had a 50% compliance rating, this would mean only half of the facilities in that sector met all of the requirements for the full year. Please note that the list of parameters includes the radioactive element radium-226. As shown, the uranium mines and mill sector maintain 100% compliance with the effluent parameter concentrations and pH limits from 2007 to 2011. This means that all 5 uranium mine and mill facilities met all of the metal mine effluent regulation effluent release limits from 2007 to 2011. On a final note, the CNSC is currently part of a working group with Environment Canada as part of the review of the metal mine effluent regulations to review existing limits and are considering the possible expansion of the list of parameters to be regulated to include elements such as selenium, which CNSC staff has already identified as a contaminant concern and taken action to reduce the levels of this contaminant at uranium mines and mills. The following table provides a detailed list of parameter results for each of the mines in 2012. As I mentioned earlier, CNSC staff, working with Environment Canada and also the Saskatchewan Ministry of Environment, have been reviewing the regulatory limits for certain parameters including uranium, selenium, and molybdenum. That being said, as demonstrated by the results on this table, all operating uranium mines and mills have successfully reduced the concentrations to levels that remain protective of the environment. Health studies conducted over the years have concluded that exposure to elevated concentrations of radon can increase the risk of lung cancer. This has led to several improvements at uranium mines and mills. In addition, Health Canada has also undertaken an important education program to help Canadians better understand the potential risks from elevated concentrations of radon in home basements and measures that can be taken to reduce these concentrations. CNSC staff have participated in different international studies that have concluded that the radon exposures in overall radiation doses resulting from currently operating uranium mines and mills is low and do not measurably increase the risk of cancer. Health studies show that workers and the public living near uranium mines and mills are as healthy as the general population. The CNSC has in place strong regulatory requirements and regulatory oversight by CNSC staff ensures that radiation continues to be effectively managed and mitigated to protect workers and the public. Based on CNSC staff's compliance activities, which included site inspections, review of performance indicators, desktop reviews, event and incident reviews, general communications, and exchanges of information with the licensees, CNSC staff concluded that a satisfactory performance rating was assessed for all 14 safety and control areas for the uranium mines and mills facilities. Cigar Lake's conventional health and safety control area received a fully satisfactory rating. We also concluded that the licensee's radiation protection measures were effective in keeping doses as low as reasonably achievable, that their environmental protection programs were effective at keeping impacts to the environment as low as reasonably achievable, and their conventional health and safety programs continued to protect workers. CNSC staff conclude that in 2012, each regulated facility operated safely and met performance expectations with respect to the health and safety of persons and the environment in Canada's international obligations. This concludes the presentation on Part 1, Uranium Mines and Mills.